Hey, so in today's video, I'm going to be doing the If I Could Only Keep 5 Eyeshadow Palettes video. I believe Annette's Makeup Corner did this video first, except she did it with 10 eyeshadow palettes. And for me personally, I do have quite a lot of eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I believe I have about 25? So I wanted to challenge myself and whittle it down to 5 eyeshadow palettes. Now for this, I didn't want to include single shadows because I feel like that's kind of cheating in a way. Because honestly, if I could only keep 5 eyeshadow palettes, I think 4 out of 5 would be single shadow palettes.
I will remember you. Will you remember me?
But anyways, I have all of the palettes lined out in front of me, and I do have one honorable mention, which I'll mention at the very end. I actually forgot to mention the honorable mention because I'm very smart, but I'll jump in and tell you what it is. I won't leave you hanging. But yeah, let's get started. I feel like if you watch my channel, none of these will be a surprise to you. Like, literally none of these would be a surprise. Actually, no, none of these are surprising. I'm very predictable. Okay, let's talk about my favorite first. This is the Nabla Soul Blooming palette. Now, if you've been on my channel for any length of time, you know that this is my baby. I remember purchasing this after my first year exams in college. The shades are beautiful. They are colourful, but also like muted down colour. Like if I want to do some pink looks, I can reach into these pink shadows. They have some beautiful duochromes in here. This shade is very unique, this honey drip colour. It's like a flaky, peachy white duochrome. It's so beautiful. There are 4 browns in this palette, so you can create neutral looks, and actually the neutral looks I've created with this palette, I've really loved. You have some blue tones, some pinks, some browns. Basically, this is a do-it-all palette for me. This is the palette I take traveling with me. I've hit pan in the shade Philosophy, and I'm surprised I haven't hit pan on more of the shades yet. The Nabla matte formula is so buttery and creamy and so easy to blend and pigmented. I do like their shimmer shadows as well, especially the shade Philosophy is my personal favourite, as well as Honey Drip and Garden Gate. But I do find that you do have to use a glitter glue with them to make them really stick to your eyes, but I don't mind. I normally use glitter glue all the time anyways. This palette has come with me to Montenegro, to New York City, to Shanghai, to Tokyo, to Singapore. This has traveled the world at this point. I adore this palette, and I really do believe that almost everyone can get along with this palette. Whether you like colourfuls, neutrals, this is a palette for you. The next palette that I would keep is the Kaleidos Makeup Futurism 5 Electro Turquoise palette. Now I do know that this is limited edition, but it is still available on Kaleidos' website. As we can see, it is absolutely beautiful. I fell in love with Kaleidos and their matte formula in 2019. Their mattes are some of my favorites that I have ever used, especially this shade Force Field up here. It is the best teal turquoise shade I've ever used. It's so creamy and pigmented, and again, easy to blend. And these metallics here, Tron and I think this is called Shockwave, I think. They're so sparkly, like they have that dimension to them where they're not just a straight metallic shade, they have some sparkle and glitter to them, which makes them super unique in my collection, especially this shade Tron. It's kind of like a turquoise but with a gold shift to it. It's incredible. And the shade Shockwave, it's just a kind of like a clear base with a bunch of platinum and white sparkle to it. I absolutely love this palette. Again, this came with me to Shanghai and I love it. I love the packaging as well. It's amazing. The next 2 palettes are from Colourpop. Now we know I do love Colourpop's formula as well. I just think that for the price especially, they have really beautiful matte shadows. Their metallics are pretty good too. And these 2 are definitely no surprise. I mean, one of them might be a surprise. Maybe. I don't think so. The first one being the Blue Moon palette. Now, we know this is kind of like beat up because I love this palette to death. I feel the most confident in blue eyeshadow, and I love it. And this is just the perfect blue palette to keep. If everything else in my collection disappeared, this is the only blue palette I would need. I love that it's got pastel shades, and the pastel shades are pretty nice considering that they're pastels, because they are quite hard to formulate, but they're nicely pigmented. This shade Lumi is a white-blue duochrome, and it's stunning. Billie Jean is like a denim blue metallic. It's so nice. The only shade that I'm not a big fan of is Clued In, and also Mad About You, mainly because I don't really use navy blue metallics that often, and also this shade could be better, this navy blue. Overall, this is a palette that I would definitely miss if I didn't have it in my collection. I seriously adore this palette. And the next Colourpop palette I actually bought fairly recently. I bought this in November, and I started using it in December when I came back from my trip. And this is the Colourpop Lilac You A Lot palette. I love lilacs. Lilacs are my version of neutrals. Like pinks and lilacs, that's what I would wear on a daily basis when it comes to neutral eyeshadow. And yellow, actually. Yellow as well. And this is just such a beautiful palette. I love how there is some depth to it with these two shades, and their shimmers are really pretty too. I just love lilacs. Lilac is another colour that I feel like is kind of underrated in the beauty community. I love these mattes especially. I do like the shimmers as well, but I feel like this one right here called Wake Me is not the best quality, but I love the shade Fluff and Trainwreck and Cloud a lot. It's the same Colourpop formula we all know and love, and it's just such a nice little 9-pan palette. I really do love the color that Colourpop did these little monochromatic palettes, because it's just such a perfect way to add colour into your collection and just to have little capsule palettes like this. Now for the 5th palette in my collection, I was looking around at all of my non-single shadow palettes and I was really stuck with what I was going to use. This is the Melt Radioactive palette. Again, this has hollow packaging. Like, look at that, it's so pretty. I got this for Christmas and I remember I really wanted to buy this palette, but I mentioned it in my makeup that I want but I'm not going to buy video. I'll link that series down below because it's now become a mini series. But again, naturally I chose this palette because this is a rainbow palette, and I feel like when I looked at all of these palettes that I had in my lineup, I was really missing some classic rainbow shades. I know for a fact that I would miss having a yellow in my collection because yellow is one of my favourite eyeshadows to wear, and especially this lime green. This lime green called Xenon is absolutely stunning. You can create a full look with this, you can pair this with other palettes, and I feel like this would be really versatile in my collection. I feel like every person needs a rainbow palette in their collection, and of course I couldn't choose my Sugar Pill palette because technically those are a bunch of single shadows, so of course I had to choose this, and I really like it. I think it's a solid rainbow palette. I'm still testing it out though. I've only used it a couple of times, but I know for a fact that I would definitely choose this if I could only keep standard eyeshadow palettes. Okay, so the honourable mention palette is the Sugar Pill Fun Size Mini palette. So the reason why I chose this one is because this is technically a rainbow palette, but like, it's not. This is literally just a pastel rainbow palette, essentially. And I did get this really recently. Yes, I broke my eyeshadow palette no-buy. I do not want to talk about it right now. But I definitely keep this because honestly, so far, love the formula. And also, it's pastels. Like, can I live without pastels? No. Here's a picture of the swatches, by the way, that I put on my Instagram. Sugar Pill also reposted my swatches on their story, so bye, I'm famous. Anyways, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what palettes you would keep if all of your collection had to disappear. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you here. You can also follow me on my social media. I have 2 Instagram accounts. I live stream on Twitch 3 times a week. And I also have my Spotify all linked down below. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!